Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. My name is Chris
I'm Haley.
and this is our couple YouTube channel. So today we're going to be talking about communications as a couple. We're going to start doing
Kind of like a relationship series kind of thing, where we're going to be talking about like communication. We want to do a video on arguments, love languages, just some relationship things that we've learned. And so today we're going to be talking about communication. If we're looking down, it's because we're looking at Chris's phone because we wrote all of the points we want to hit down. But I just want to say before we start that we're not like professional relationship advice people.
Yeah, nothing like that.
Yeah, so this is just kind of what's worked for us. So we wanted to share it with you guys and maybe it'll work for you too. But like I said, we're not professionals in any way. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right in about communication. So I feel like the importance of communication in a relationship is once you've been with someone for a while, especially if you live with them, you kind of just get in like your daily groove, daily routine of everything that you do every day, that you kind of forget to really talk and really listen to your significant other.
Yeah, it's just like, the biggest part is you don't know what they're thinking. If you don't talk to them, you're not a mind reader, you're not knowing everything. And some people just don't have the ability to open up or share. That's sometimes a struggle even in our relationship. It's hard sometimes to want to just share how you're feeling because you either don't want the person to blame themselves or
Sorry, that bird is so loud.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why it didn't go away.
Yeah, I think it's just really easy to get stuck in a routine where you just kind of just go do your thing every day and you just kind of forget to sit down and really talk.
Yeah.
So the next thing we want to talk about is listening, which I feel like most people, when you talk about communication, it's talking.
But no one's listening.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of it.
Listening is a huge part of communication.
Well, it's because some people just don't want to. They don't want to. They just want to end the conversation. Sometimes people act like they're listening. They say what they think you want to hear, and then that's how they get this conversation over with.
Yeah, or something I feel like I'm guilty of, and you're probably guilty of sometimes too, is when you're having a conversation, especially like a harder conversation, you're kind of listening to what the other person's saying, but you're not really listening. You're more like formulating in your head what you're gonna say next, and that's probably more what you're thinking of than actually like trying to comprehend what they're trying to get across to you.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I've done it. But it's hard because you're also, depending on the hard conversation, you could be mad, and when you're mad you turn into like a little kid and you just don't want to.
You want to be right?
Yeah, you want to be right. You don't want to be bothered. You want to throw a tantrum, and you don't end up listening, and all you end up doing is just hurting yourself more or the other person. So
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than trying to say something that's bothering you or something that you want to really talk about and actually have a conversation about, and you feel like the other person's not really listening to you.
yes, exactly. What?
It's like a therapy session.
I know. All right, so our next point. Talk with versus talking at your partner. Same, all of this, we've all been guilty.
Yes.
And you'll hear us say that 100 times, as we're all guilty. Especially same thing, conversation wise, you could be mad and heated, and all you're doing is talking, yelling, or lecturing, or whatever you want to call it, at your partner, and they're trying to explain to you, but you're just over talking them. It's same thing with friends. Friends do the same thing.
I feel like a lot of times if it's a conversation that like you've been wanting to have for a while and you've kind of been formulating what you're gonna say in your head, that once you start the conversation, it's kind of just like word vomit. Like you just keep talking, don't give the other person a chance to say anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it turns into more of like you're talking at that person instead of actually like conversing with them.
And the problem is too is like you're throwing all that stuff at them. They're not.
Just because
they don't have time to react.
Yeah, just
Like-
because you've been thinking about having this conversation all day and your mind is prepared for it doesn't mean when you start that conversation that they're gonna be like processing it as quickly as you have been all day. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's 100% right. I mean, so just be conscious of other people, or your other half or partner. You got to understand that, like she said, they're not prepared for it. No one's prepared for a hard conversation.
Even if it's not a hard conversation, like I know there's been times where maybe you're working and I'm off, and I've been thinking of this conversation that we're gonna have, whether it's like a good conversation or something like that's wrong. Like I might be thinking about that conversation all day, and when you get home and I bring it up to you and you don't react the way that I imagined it in my head all day, I'm gonna be like offended. If it's something good and you're not like overly excited about it,
And I mean, I'm a pretty monotone, normal person. I mean, so I'm guilty of that. I'm happy. I just, I don't smile that much. I don't like how I don't like my smile and stuff. So I kind of just, keep it closed and simple. But
yeah, and I think it's important to know your partner. I mean, it's harder in the beginning, but like we've been together for 5 years. Like I know when it's a good time to talk to you and when it's a good time not to. Like I'm not gonna want to start a in-depth conversation with you at 8 o'clock in the morning when you've just woken up. You're more of a person that I'm gonna want to talk to later in the day.
yeah.
Because you probably won't react the way I am hoping at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest family person, but it's true. Alright, so we'll move on to the next point. Our next point is knowing when to listen rather than talk. We kind of just covered that, so we'll just touch it base of it a little bit. Again, just, sometimes you need to just don't talk. Just open your ears and soak it in, and, don't say a word. Sometimes you make it worse, or, because you're going to say something that person doesn't like, or you make them feel guilty, or they're not going to want to share. And that's a big thing in communication. Some people won't share because it's like, he just never lets me talk. You say, oh, I had this bad day at work, and then, oh, well, and then you just start, kind of pointing fingers at them and saying, well, it might have not been your coworker, it was you, and you're kind of just throwing yourself under a bus at that time, But so that's pretty much it for that, because we covered most of that. But just sometimes just listen, and I'm guilty of that. I always have something to say. Granted, I seem, like I said, monotone, quiet person, but I always have something to say, usually back,
I feel like it just makes the other person feel like they're a priority when you're actually like making eye contact and listening, and like don't be on your phone when your partner is trying to talk to you. Don't be watching TV or doing something else. Like if they're really trying to talk to you, make them feel like it. Don't be like doing the dishes or I don't know.
You can have those little small conversations while you're doing something. Everybody does it, like you're conversating at dinners. You shouldn't have your phone out when you're at dinner, especially if you're on a date. That's rude. Don't do that. But people are guilty. We're all guilty of it. But just, yes, make sure that they know you're listening. That's a big thing. And that was, like I said, that's something that we struggle with, because I always have something to say, you know, and I'm guilty of it.
You've been doing a lot better though.
Yeah, I'm doing better. All right, so next point.
I actually kind of have a story about this one. So yesterday, I was at clinic and I had a patient. The doctor was taking forever to come in, so we just kind of started talking. This lady was 86 years old. Yeah, 86. Her husband was 90, and she told me they've been married for 64 years. And I said, "What's your secret?" And she said, "Let me tell you my secret, honey." She told me basically, like, the key obviously is communication. She said one of the most important things that they did was, if something bothers you, whether it's something small or big, tell that person, because you are going to keep that inside. You're gonna let it bottle up, even if it's something small. Like she said, like if her husband would throw a wet towel on the ground and let it stay there, like that would bother her. And it probably got to a point where he did it so many times in a row and she didn't say anything, that small thing just like exploded. So she said, if something is bothering you, say it. Don't keep it bottled up, whether it's something small or big.
Yeah. True. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I mean, there's not much to say to that other than, you know, you're right, and same thing, we're all guilty, and you know, it's just, you don't want to try to tell them the bad things that they do, or the habits that are bad. And you know, some people just don't want to have an argument, you know. But sometimes it makes it worse. But talk to the person and say, I'm not trying to argue, but there's something that's bothering me, and try to have a civil conversation. Most of the time it probably won't. Most people get defensive. Most people are going to get mad and turn it.
And it probably won't change right away.
And yes, it probably won't change right away. So don't say, "Oh, you don't do what I told you," and it's been like 4 days.
I feel like that's something we have like struggled with.
Yeah, I mean, and it's true. It's like, you know, I'm guilty of like get told to, I don't know, fold the laundry. I won't that day, and then I'll be like, I just got home from work and I just want to sit down and do nothing. So then I don't fold that laundry the day, and then the next day goes by, and then she's like, you didn't do it, and I'm like, shit, like,
yeah,
you know. So I mean, like, I don't do anything like crazy, or, you know,
it's just small things.
Yeah. Like, you know, it's, for us, we don't have any major problems or communicating. You know, we're pretty open people.
Yeah.
You know, even on here, we're open and we're honest, and you know, we don't do a ton of reshoots. We just kind of talk, and like we were talking to somebody face to face.
Yeah.
And you know. Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And I don't think communication was something that we always were good at. Especially for me, I feel like in the beginning especially, I really struggled with like communicating my feelings. I think mostly because like I was an only child growing up, so I was pretty much always by myself. Like I never had to really tell anyone how I was feeling. Like if I was sad, it was just me. Like I was sad. If I was mad, nobody really knew it. Like it was just me. So I kind of had, especially in the beginning, I mean I still do, I'm not perfect, but just kind of struggled with being able to express my feelings, since it was just me. Like that was something that kind of bothered you in the beginning.
Yeah, and it did, and you know, we've worked through it, and you know, even not being a single child, you know, I'm not a single child. I have an older brother and older sister. You know, even I have them, and I'm still a pretty, you know, quiet person. Like, nobody really knew my secrets or anything like that, or, you know, how I was really feeling. You know, pretty much my mom was the only one, and then obviously whatever friends and stuff that I've known for years. You know, sometimes it's easier to confront a friend than your partner, which shouldn't be that way, but especially in new relationships, that's hard. You know, because especially if somebody you really like, you don't want to ruin something over something dumb.
Yeah. I feel like especially in relationships these days, for some reason, there's like this thought process that goes into when you're dating, that the person that you're with has to be like perfect in a sense. Like, to find the one, I feel like people think that your relationship has to be like so easy and like no problems and there's nothing really to work through, but I feel like it's the total opposite. Like, I feel like
yes, there's always going to be problems in a relationship. If you really don't have any problems, I mean, it's not bragging or anything, but we don't have many problems. We never really had like really big problems.
But our relationship in no way is perfect.
Yeah, it's not perfect, and even us have those arguments and those petty little talks and stuff, and you know, it's just you gotta not be afraid to have that conversation even with someone new.
Yeah.
You know,
in the beginning it was kind of scary, but now I feel like pretty much like if something happens, like it's brought up right then and there, we talk about it, we finish it, and that's the end of it. Like, I feel like we're pretty good at letting things go too. Like, we don't really hold grudges.
Yeah, like, you know, especially somebody like me, and she could vouch. I guess it's a good and a bad thing is I'm a very logical person. Like, I see both sides, and sometimes it's a good thing and a bad thing because I always see why I'm right and why she's right, and then I can't be like, oh, well, you're right, because I still think I'm partially right. So, you know, I'm a pretty guilty person like that, but that's just me. I see things black and white, and, you know, I don't kind of see that gray area.
Yes.
You know?
She's very logical. I'm very, like, an emotional thinker.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just how I've always just been.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's also what makes it work, is because sometimes you get two people that are just emotional and all they're doing is yelling and crying, or they're being defensive. You know, she might get upset because she's emotional, and, you know, I might seem like I'm being a bad person, but it's, you know, it's just but I'm not, because I'm not emotionally, you know, bothered by it. Like, I'm more
you can like put your emotions out the door and just think of the facts, where that's really hard for me to do.
Yeah.
Like, I feel things very deeply.
Yeah.
Which is a good and bad thing.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't think that, you know, especially people that know me on here, you know, and to all of you, you know, it's never that I don't care. I always care. But just, I'll always have the people's back that are closest to me. Yeah. But I always...
I'm going to tell you like it is.
I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm always going to tell you the truth, even if you're wrong. I'm going to tell you you're wrong. It's just, I'm not that person that... I'm not going to just side with you because you're my best friend or sibling or whatever. Even with her, she could be like, I'm right, and there could be a total stranger, and I'm going to tell her that she's wrong. She's 100% wrong, even though she's my half, and I should always have her back. But I feel like I'm not doing justice for her or for the other person or for myself, because then I'm lying to myself and I'm lying to her just to try to make her feel better.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I feel like this kind of transitioned into some argument stuff, but we want to do a whole video on arguments coming up. Like a productive way to argue. So we're going to be doing a video on that. But I guess this was a little preview.
Sorry, I get that. That's what I'm saying. Kind of just go off sometimes.
It's okay.
But we're honest, and like I said, we're open books, and, you know, if you have any questions, like we said, we're not therapists or anything like that, but we want to help. We want to try to help at least as
Yeah,
much as
I
we
mean, I
can.
feel like we've been together long enough that we have gone through a bunch of things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, no, we're 5 years. It's not like a really long time.
You know, 10, 20, 30 years, we're not, you know, we're not even married yet.
We're still learning.
We're still learning, but there's still people that are newer or
Yeah,
even
and-
have been longer, but they still have these problems.
Yeah, and there's things we've found that works for us, and
No.
anyways. So we're excited to start this kind of relationship series, I guess we can call it.
Good.
Like I said, we're going to be doing, I think, our next video on arguments. And we're going to talk about the 5 love languages, which we're still reading that book.
Yes, it's not the biggest book, but it's a big
It's not a big book.
for me. For somebody that doesn't like to read,
It's just, we
It's
want to read
hard.
it together, so it's kind of hard to find
the time.
time at the end of the day to like sit down and read.
you
Because
know.
I go to bed very early. I'm like a grandma. And
Yeah, I go to bed very late.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we're excited for the new series. So if you guys have any suggestions of videos you want to see about relationships, please comment. We want to hear from you guys. We want to know what you want to see. You can also comment on Instagram, which our Instagram is at hey.and.chris. Yeah, give us a follow on there. We post a lot on there, and we want to hear your guys' suggestions on what relationship videos you want to see. And we're going to be doing a Q&A eventually too, I think at the very end of the series. So start thinking of some questions you want to ask us.
I know that's gonna be fun, and it's scary too, and it's scary doing this, guys. But we're trying, and you know we're learning. So if, as we always say, if you have any tips or suggestions, just always comment. You know, we kind of hope that you guys will start interacting more with us because we want to, you know, help entertain you, help let you express your feelings. You know. Things like that, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to hit the bell because you'll get notifications when we post something new, which we will be posting this today, or tomorrow.
Today's Tuesday.
Sorry, I forgot what day it was. But yeah.
We're so awkward at the end of these. Like, we don't know how to end it, guys.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, guys, please subscribe, like our stuff, watch our videos, and love our channel like we love it. And we'll catch you for the next one.
See ya.